Hey, welcome everyone. It's amazing to have you all. Okay, so this is our monthly Heart-Powered Business Community Call. There you go. Okay, a Heart-Powered Speaking Community Call. So you're speakers, we love to have you. And you're not just speakers. You speak from the heart. You have an amazing message, and all of you have a message worth sharing with millions, right? So, I know some of you have been with us just a couple of weeks on our Speaking Breakthroughs week together. But anyhow, for everyone that is a first timers, especially welcome first timers. Well, you might, if you are a first timer, you might not even know who I am in the first place, right? So let me introduce myself. I'm the founder of Heart Powered Business. Our mantra is speak up, scale up, impact the world. We've helped hundreds of clients from more than 50 countries to really go professional with their speaking, get paid to speak, get booked to speak all over the globe, and to double, triple, and even quadruple and more their income as they stepped up as speakers with our Voice to Millions framework. And I've been a paid speaker myself for more than 20 years. I've been on stages in more than 30 countries on 5 continents. And I know a lot of you are serious about stepping up with your speaking professionally. So what I'd love us to do is we have our amazing Brenda from my team, our rockstar team member Brenda, on board with us today. She will share with you in the chat the link to our Professional Speakers Launch Program, which we just are about to launch. So if you want to get paid more and booked more to speak and you want to sharpen your message, this is the place for you to be. Check it out. If you have an interest, reach out, let us know. Send either Brenda or me a direct message in the chat and let us know, and we can talk about if this is the right thing for you. Also, we have created something amazing this year that is our Speak to Scale calendar. And what we do there is every single day, we give you some mindset hacks and some concrete little fun steps every single day to boost your network, to boost your speaking, to boost your visibility, to grow your income, to grow your impact month by month. So every day there's a tiny little task and fun step that you can take. And if you take all of them throughout the year, you will be in an entirely new place as a speaker and entrepreneur and the amazing person that you are. So Brenda's going to share that link as well in the chat, but this session is never about me. It's all about you and our precious guest, okay? And our guest, okay, he's someone who has really mastered the art of powerful conversations, and he's here to help us do the same right here, right now. You all know the troubles, the challenges, the issues. There's a lot of noise out there. So many people talk to so many people, no matter if you speak to people one-on-one or to a team or on stage. And again, because we are all just showered with information all the time, goes in one ear, out the other. The challenge is, how do you make sure people stop? How do you make sure people really pay attention to what you have to say? How do you make sure people really listen to what you have to say? And they don't only listen, but they take it in, they turn their knowing into action. Because only when they take action, they get results. And only when they get results, you get results. So the question is, what if you could master the art of powerful conversations that get people to listen, to trust you, and to take action on what you speak about, and ideally to take action with you. So in this session today, we will really explore, and our guest will share his amazing proven over many years built and proven approach so that you can get people to listen and build instant rapport with, so that you establish credibility and people trust you fast and effortlessly. What if you can have conversations with people that creates urgency for them to take action fast? What about you also can avoid what we call the pipeline constipation and close more deals faster? This is what our guest today will talk about. And our guest's name. He's an amazing friend, and we met the first time when we were actually in the UK in autumn at a speakers business summit. And I spoke there, he spoke there, right? And our guest today, his name is Anthony Stears. Okay. And who is Anthony? He is a published author. He is, of course, an international speaker. He's a true expert in the power of communication and conversation. He's actually known as the telephone assassin. He has made it his mission to help business professionals and all of us today to stop hiding behind emails and social media and instead build real connections through meaningful conversations. With a wealth of experience in working with corporates, franchises, associations, and top conference organizers on a daily basis, he knows exactly how to help you get more business from your ideal clients and maximize every conversation you have from now on. Well, today he'll be sharing his insights on making every conversation count, helping us to get people to listen, build trust, and take action. So, without further ado, let's all please give a warm welcome to Anthony. Anthony, welcome. It's great to have you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for that lovely introduction. I think it was well written and sent over by me, which is nice. So as speakers, we always know an introduction is important, but I am known as the telephone assassin. So unfortunately, it's not as aggressive as it sounds, people. Hence, all of my branding is pink. It looks like Barbie threw up in here, as you can probably tell. But I'm going to share a few tips on how to stay in control of your conversations. But I'm going to try and tailor it as much as I can towards the world of speaking, because obviously it seems like we're all speakers here. However, I've spoken 10 days ago at the Professional Speaking Association London chapter, and I'm doing Thames Valley later on this week as well. So speaking to speakers, I love to do. But I have noticed that speakers come in all shapes and sizes, covering many topics and having many different dreams and desires about how they're going to use their speaking. So I'm going to be quite transparent and honest with regards to my business, but I'm going to ask a couple of quick questions to see which categories you guys would fall into. So I make 50% of my money comes from training. Okay, and it's done internally, so it's business to business. Okay, I don't tend to run many open workshops anymore where individuals can buy tickets. Okay, 30% of the money that I make comes from speaking, so that is being paid to speak. However, there are a couple of gigs that I do every year for expenses only, but I'll get into that a little bit later on. The remaining 20% comes from coaching or consulting. So this is more one-to-one, although more recently I have launched an online academy. And this is one of my ways of scaling my business and creating a kind of B2C style product as well. So that's a little bit about me and my business and how I make money. Can I just double check? I'm guessing we all want big stage speaking gigs. Is that correct? Can you give me a thumbs up? We want big stage stuff. Yes. Anybody here do training as well? So they actually work with teams, do stuff, yeah, for a few hours. I'm getting some thumbs up there. Perfect. Anybody do coaching? So you end up working one-to-one with people. Fantastic. And you find that every time you get off stage, somebody in the audience wants to be your client, right? So it works really well together. Perfect. Have we got any other types of speakers here? Because I know sort of after dinner, the comedian type or entertainers, mentalist kind of speakers. I know some Olympians, gold medalists and adventurers, Paralympians and stuff as well. Yeah, anybody do anything else to as part of their speaking? We all fall into kind of at least one, if not two of those categories of training, coaching, speaking. Yeah, brilliant. Some of you may have podcasts and things as well, be on radio shows, that kind of stuff. But I tell you what, I'm going to share with you what I call my 5 conversation steers. So this is my core content that I keynote about all of the time. You are going to get a condensed version of this so that I can keep it interactive, and hopefully we can have time for some questions as well. But I'm going to apply this to those different scenarios of me reaching out or dealing with inquiries and things as well. But I'm going to check in with you guys to make sure that this stuff is landing and making sense. So you may find that I will say your name and ask you to unmute yourself, or if you're nodding and agreeing with me, I might ask you to kind of chip in. Is that okay? Are we okay for a? Yeah, we've got a Zoom full of speakers. Normally, like we like to speak, right? Okay. Hopefully, you'll also be slightly amused by the irony I see, because I know lots and lots of speakers, and most of them are scared of picking up the telephone. Okay. Yet there's this ironic thing in the back of my head that thinks, well, come on, as speakers, we think we're so good, people should pay to listen to us talk. Okay. Yet we don't use it for our sales and marketing as much as we should do. Or we do, but we tend to just put out videos and things on social media. So I'm hopefully going to give you guys some confidence by the end of this, just so that you know, 90% of the stuff that I talk about, I guess you probably already know. Okay, so I'm not here to tell you you're doing anything wrong. You should feel quite reassured by the end of this session that you're doing a lot of the right stuff. Okay, I'm also hoping that about 75% of it you already use. Okay, so you hopefully you're going to be nodding along with me here. But if any of this is not making sense, feels really weird or uncomfortable, I need you to either put your hand up. You can do that physically. You can do it digitally. I really don't mind. But I may get you to chip in and stuff as we go. So, are you ready? Yes, as you've noticed, I speak at 110 miles an hour. So if English isn't your first language, Thomas, I think you're Austria. Did I see that right in the chat? If I'm going too fast, please let me know. Otherwise, we can have a little one-to-one at the end if needed. Is that okay? Perfect. In which case, let's get started of my 5 conversation steers. Hopefully you've noticed that I'm playing on my surname a little bit there, but I help people to steer this conversation. I'm going to give them to you in the order in which they appear. Okay, but I'm going to tell you what they all are really quickly. Is that all right? Just so it makes sense, you know what's coming. We start off by getting permission to speak. Okay, then we're going to build rapport so that people like us enough to keep listening. Then we're going to establish our credibility so that they know that they can trust us. And then we're going to create urgency so that hopefully they take a next step and do something as a result of speaking to us. Okay, and then the final step is something you're going to do at the end of all of your conversations, which will help you to prevent what I call pipeline constipation. It was mentioned in my introduction. Does that translate? Do you know what I mean by pipeline constipation? Thomas is shaking his head. That I only needed one person. Pipeline constipation is where somebody, it usually happens just after you sent a proposal or a quotation out to somebody, and they ask you to send lots of information, you put it all together, you send it over to them, and 2, 3, 4 weeks later, they haven't responded to your email, they're not returning your calls, it feels like they've fallen off the face of the earth. Anybody experienced that before? Okay, it's at the point at which somebody seemed interested and now they've gone quiet. Okay, so this final thing is going to help you to prevent that. But let's start at the beginning. And I'm sure you guys do this all already. So first thing, it's called PTS. Okay, we like our acronyms as speakers. That stands for permission to speak. Basically, I believe if you are phoning somebody, particularly you are ambushing them in their day, right, unless you've scheduled the call already, I believe you should get permission to speak at the beginning of the call. Have you all experienced receiving a sales call from somebody who just reads a script or blurts a pitch down the phone? Yeah? Did you enjoy that? Not so much. Okay. I tend to joke. I call it premature elaboration. It's an overexcited or slightly desperate salesperson who just can't hold on to their pitch any longer. Okay. But my guess is you guys probably do this already. So if you were to phone somebody up, would you say something along the lines of, so Meredith, if I'm calling you, Meredith, is now a good time to talk? Or have you got a couple of minutes to chat? Something along those lines?
Yes.
Yeah. Would you say anything different? You're over in Florida, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah. How would you do it over that side of the pond?
Is this a good time to speak now?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Is it a good time? Perfect. People will use various variations of that. Okay. And if that's working for you, keep doing what you're doing. All right. If you find that quite quickly people say, could you just send me an email? That means they wish they didn't give you permission to speak, or you didn't do your permission to speak properly. So if one of the first things people ask you is, could you just send me an email? Then I would go, oh, okay, let me look at my permission to speak again. All right. The way I tend to do it is I wrap it in great customer service and impeccable manners. I phone with the assumption that I've probably called at a bad time. And I'll try and schedule a better time. So Meredith, I'm going to use you again as the example. It'd be, oh, good afternoon, Meredith. My name's Anthony Stears. I was just hoping to chat to you for a couple of minutes, but I'm guessing I probably caught you at a bad time. Is there a better time to call you back? Okay.
Yeah.
Did,
Yes.
did you?
Let me check
Yeah.
my calendar.
Okay, right. So, but hopefully what you all noticed is I made it really easy for you to get out of this call, right? It didn't sound like a sales call, did it?
No.
No. So what most people tend to do is they think, well, the last thing they heard is he made this very easy for me to get out of this call. He only wants 2 minutes. I don't think this is a sales call. Okay. And then the afterthought is, and if it is a sales call, oh, bless him, he's not very good at it, is he? Okay. Because I've made it so easy. So what you tend to find is if you had to cold call, right? So you were just phoning random people, you phone 10 people, at least 7 of them, you'll get nothing but voicemails and gatekeepers and people trying to block you. Okay. But of the 3 people that answer, if you do that permission to speak, you'll find that worst case scenario, 2 of them will say, actually, Anthony, now isn't a great time. I'm about to go into a meeting or I'm about to do this. Could you give me a call back at 4 o'clock? Or would you mind giving me a call on Friday instead? Okay. And if they say that, I say, yeah, no worries at all, Meredith. Friday's great for me. Is late morning okay? Brilliant. I'll speak to you then. Okay. And then on Friday, I would use the same thing once again. Hey, Meredith, it's Anthony Stears. You said to give you a call today, but I know you're a very busy lady. Is now a good time or is there a better time to call you back? Okay. And basically, I will repeat this over and over again until you give me permission to speak. Because in my mind, sales will always be a numbers game. Okay. But it's not really about overcoming objections or convincing people to buy. It's more about capitalizing on the conversations people are ready to have. Right. If they're not ready to have the conversation right now or they're distracted, they're going to say, no, not interested. Send me an email. Right. They're just going to fob you off and ignore you. Okay, I would rather you put me off 3 or 4 times and make me wait a month if on the 5th time you say, oh, actually, Anthony, yes, sorry, I know you've been trying to get hold of me. Go on, I've got a few minutes now. What did you want to talk about? Okay, I've only got to catch you once in a good mood. All right. Whereas, unfortunately, my luck is not always that good. So sometimes I phone people and they're busy and the proverbial has hit a fan somewhere and something's going wrong, or they're running and rushing. And I make it very easy for them to get out of it. I want them to be ready and happy to have a conversation rather than forcing it, because then I'm probably going to get a no. Okay. So that's how I do my permission to speak. However, you have to find your own set of words that sound natural coming out of your mouth. Because I had a guy that I trained in London, and to paint a picture of him, he lives on the east side of London. Okay, over in Essex, okay, and Essex in the UK, bit of a wide boy kind of thing. Now, he thinks I'm posh, okay? I think he sounds like he works on a market. He goes, hello, Mr. Assassin, mate, how's it going? How's it going? Right, that's how he talks. And he used my permission to speak word for word with a client, and his client said, what's happened to you? And he said, I've just been doing some training. And the client said, I don't think it's working, mate. He went, don't worry, I'll call you back. And he came back to me and he went, your permission to speak doesn't work. I said, well, it does, because it's one of the best tips that I give out and people tell me it works all the time. I don't think you were doing it your way. I think you did it my way. And he sort of said, oh, okay, all right. I said, so you've got to come up with your words. And a long story short, he came back rather proud of himself. And he went, okay, Mr. Assassin, I think I've cracked it. Let's do it on loudspeaker so everybody can listen and marvel at me, right? That's how confident he was. Now, he does his permission to speak in 6 words, okay? His goes like this. Hello, fella. Good time, bad time. That's it. Good time, bad time, right? Now, that works for him because that's how he normally speaks. Whereas unless I'm phoning people in the world of construction, maybe, where I can probably get away with talking a bit more like that, that's probably not suiting my style. Okay, so that's just something I like to point out to people is you need to do it your own way. But the way I tend to do it is a good morning or a good afternoon, and I give them my full name, but not my company. Okay, I tell them that I want to speak for 2 minutes, but assume I've called at a bad time and ask if there's a better time to call back. If you follow that process, you shouldn't really have any bad calls because you're not forcing conversations. Can I double check? Are you all feeling quite relieved? I bet you heard the word assassin and thought, oh, this is going to be aggressive sales stuff. This is quite nice, softly, right? Yeah, good. Right. So that's the permission to speak. We're 20% of the way there. If you get permission to speak, you shouldn't have any bad calls. Okay. Once you've been given permission to speak, then the first of the sort of three phases, because you've got two golden rules, the first of those three phases was about building rapport. Basically, you want them to like you enough to keep listening. Or more importantly, not decide that they don't like you and become either rude or invasive or combative. It can go south sometimes, right? But there's two main ways that you can build rapport. First one is good manners. Now, personally, hopefully you agree, my permission to speak is a good demonstration of respect for somebody's time and quite good manners. Would you agree? Yeah, good. Now, the analogy that I give when you're reaching out to somebody, okay, and you're cold calling, so to speak, or you're being proactive, as I like to call it, is it should feel like you're dropping off a pizza menu, not knocking on their door and trying to take an order. Okay, so do you guys get takeaway menus? It's put through your letterboxes and things at home? Because it happens to us over here, right? I know they want to get us on the apps, but these menus keep appearing. Okay, they know their competitors are doing, so they keep going on the map. Have you ever had them knock on your door? Could you imagine if you had a, hello, Domino's Pizza, can I take your order? Right. Now, don't get me wrong. If you targeted houses blaring music out and having a party on a Friday and Saturday night, you might sell some pizzas. But most of the time, right, Tuesday morning, 11 o'clock, most people are going to slam the door in your face and think you're being really rude. Okay, so that's what I mean is about creating awareness, not making it look like you're trying to take an order. So the way I do that is by introducing myself. So once Meredith has given me permission to speak, I would then say, well, as I mentioned, my name's Anthony Stears. I'm known as the telephone assassin. I do a very specialist type of training that stops people from hiding behind their emails. But I'm guessing you're probably not looking at training right now. Is that right? And I would lead with the most common objection. I'll tell you what it is I do, but make it very clear I'm not expecting you to buy right now. And by doing that, what you typically find is people will confirm that you're correct and then they justify it. So they'll say something like, you're right, Anthony, we're not looking at training at the moment because we have a program that runs till the end of the year, or because we don't have any budget until after the 1st of April, or because we're trying to recruit at the moment and we'd need to induct people before we could do training. So they'll then start to give me an indication of when they're going to be hungry for my services. So if I'm looking for speaking, I would reach out to the organizer and say, well, my name's Anthony Stears. I'm known as a telephone assassin. I've been a member of the Professional Speaking Association for over 10 years now. I just was trying to be proactive, but I'm guessing you're probably not looking at speakers for your events at the moment. Is that correct? All right. And then they're going to say to me, oh, well, actually, we're going to be looking at this point. Or they might say, well, could you send us over a show reel? Or, oh, what sort of topics do you talk about? And they might then engage. But my initial outreach is to drop off my pizza menu, which we'll get to in just a moment. Okay, but basically using good manners and the assumption or the feeling of dropping off a pizza menu rather than trying to take an order puts people at ease. The other thing that you can do to build rapport is do some research. Okay, we all have the same favorite topic of conversation, and it is ourselves. It's the thing we know most about. It's the thing we care most about. So the more you know about me, the easier it is to get me talking. Okay, flattery works wonders no matter what age or sex people are. Saying nice things about them, on complimenting on their career journey that you've noticed on LinkedIn, or thanking them for writing a post or an article or something along those lines, can be a great way to start a conversation and show that they're not just a name and a number on a list. You've spontaneously wanted to reach out because you were compelled to by some reason. Okay, this is how you make it feel personal, and you become more like a proactive expert as opposed to a cold caller. Okay, and as speakers, we don't like to look like we're small businesses. So if you want to, you can really ham it up and say, oh, I'm ever so sorry, Meredith. It would normally be one of my team that would reach out like this, but I noticed you on LinkedIn that you ran an event a few months ago, and it's exactly the sort of thing that the agents would put me forwards for. I just wondered, when will you be looking at speakers again? When should I get back in touch? Okay, so you could tee it up that you've got more of a team and it's them that would normally do this, okay? Or you could just phone up and say, hey, Meredith, I saw you run a conference recently. I'm just looking at next year's diary. When are you going to start looking and planning that event? I'd like to get back in touch. Yeah, so there's different ways that you could play that kind of intro in doing the building rapport in a nice way and making it feel like you're dropping off that pizza menu. Okay. Can I just double check? Is this landing with people? Is making sense? You kind of thinking, yeah, I'm comfortable with this. Good, good. Um, is it Iskra? Have I said that right? Iskra? Yeah, I can see you scribbling stuff down. It's always a good sign for me. I judge speakers by how many notes I take, so I'm liking this. Tops of people's heads, I like. Brilliant. So, in which case, we've done rapport. I'm sorry I'm doing this quite quickly, but I want to give chance for us to have some questions and stuff at the end as well. So, we've done our permission to speak. We've now started to build rapport by basically using good manners and some research. Only other thing I'm going to add to that is use a CRM system and store your research somewhere. Okay, information is ammunition. Keep it safe. Okay. Middle part of the conversation, we've got them to like us now. Now we need to establish our credibility. Okay. Some people think of this as perfecting your pitch. Okay. I think of it as establishing your credibility. I think it's so much better. Perfecting your pitch sounds salesy and pitchy, whereas establishing your credibility is dropping off a pizza menu, which is going to be, in this case, a mini case study or a testimonial from somebody who's just like them that we've worked with before. Because I say it doesn't matter if you're a lawyer or a landscaper, the principles of what I do work exactly the same. Okay. One has a posher voice than the other, but the principles work exactly the same. So the best way to perfect your pitch, or in my words, establish your credibility, is to share a success story somebody can relate to. That's it. Share a success story somebody can relate to. And if you've written that down, underline the word relate. Okay, because that's the bit where most salespeople go wrong, is they name drop their biggest client. Okay, in the hope that that's going to impress you. Now, I don't know about you, but when I get to speak, quite often, if it's not an internal conference, if it's a business expo type of conference, there's lots of smaller businesses in the room. Okay, there is no point me coming out on stage and going, hey, everybody, I'm the telephone assassin. I've worked with Microsoft, BT, Lathwaites, GSK. So there's some big brands there that most people in the UK will go, oh, I know them. Oh, okay, right. And that's impressive for about a second. And then it's intimidating because then you'll go, oh, he's obviously very good. Oh, but he's probably not interested in working with my team. I've only got 5 salespeople. I've only got a small budget, right? And I don't want to scare you off by bragging about my biggest clients. What I should be doing is sharing success stories you can relate to. So as I mentioned earlier on, I have 3 different services. So all of my case studies, okay, and the difference in a case study and a testimonial is a quote from a client, from a person. Yeah, it can be a recommendation on LinkedIn. It can be a thank you email, but it's basically a quote. Put a quote out there. Some people will read it. Unless it's inspirational, it probably won't get any traction. It's going to die a death. To turn it into a case study, all I'm asking you to do is add some context to the quote. Tell people who that person was. So I have 2 labels at the top of my case studies that say the industry or the business type that I worked with, and then the job title of the person who wrote my feedback. Okay, because if I then go and do an advanced search on LinkedIn and I can find other people in that industry with that job title, I can almost guarantee they want to know what their competitors are up to and what they say about me. All right, so that would be the most compelling. If I had to match one or the other, industry or job title, I'd usually go for job title. And it might sound counterproductive, but when I get booked, obviously I do a lot more training than speaking, but on the training side, when I get booked, sometimes it's the sales manager, sometimes it's the owner of the business, sometimes it's a HR director or an L&D director. Okay. If I'm on the phone with somebody with a HR role who's inquiring about training, then there's no point me sharing what a salesperson from their industry says about me, because a salesperson a classic sales manager will say, oh, Anthony's training was great. We're getting past more gatekeepers. We're booking more meetings and 80% of the team are now hitting target. Highly recommended, right? So it's very outcome based focused. Whereas when a HR person writes me feedback, they say, Anthony took the time to do a pre-workshop questionnaire so he could tailor his sessions specifically to our team. He then made everybody laugh and they all said that they would have more training with Anthony afterwards. He did 2 follow-up sessions and even did some one-to-one follow-ups as well, just to make sure that the learning was embedded. I would highly recommend working with him, right? They talk about the journey, not the outcome. So if I start sharing what somebody says about the outcomes to somebody who's interested in the journey, then there's a disconnect. They don't kind of connect. So I'd rather match job title and miss industry if I had to pick one or the other. But as I mentioned, I have 3 services. So at the bottom of all of my case studies, they either say hashtag speaking, hashtag training, or hashtag coaching. They're my 3 types of clients. Yeah. So if a client inquires and says, hey, I want to talk to you about speaking, I go, okay, hashtag speaking. What do you want me to talk about? Yeah. Oh, you want to get past gate, or you want to do this, and you are building confidence. Okay. Hashtag confidence. Fantastic. And what are you trying to get them to do? Oh, go and meet people. Go have meetings. Okay. Hashtag meetings. Hashtag appointments. Okay. Then I can say, well, look, here's half a dozen companies who asked me to build the confidence of their team so that they go out and have more appointments. Look what they said about me. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, I get to use my clients' words, who people will believe far more than what I say about me. Okay, so most salespeople struggle when it comes to the pitch and telling them how good you are, because it feels very braggy, doesn't it? When you have to tell them how good you are, particularly as you start to creep your fees up as well, and you get imposter syndrome and you feel you have to justify your fees as well. Okay, so yeah, hopefully, my guess is, in fact, I should have checked at the beginning. Do you all have one happy client? Has everybody got at least one happy client? Yeah. Anybody got a couple more? Yeah, got a few more. I like it. I like it. Brilliant. I have to check because not everybody does. All right. But if you've got happy customers, then ask them to write you some feedback. And we're often a bit bashful about asking. Okay. Or we just gracefully accept their little thank you email. But one tip I would give you off the back of this, and a nice easy call to get you started, phone a couple of past clients and say, I was on a little training session earlier, and this curly-haired idiot told me I should get feedback from my 3 favorite clients that I enjoyed working with over the last 6 months, 12 months. You can say longer if it's appropriate. Okay, 6 months. And obviously I thought of you. Flattery, flattery, flattery. I just wondered if you would be happy sharing a few lines of what I've been like to work with, because new customers always want to hear what my clients say about me. Yeah. And you'll be surprised at how willing people are to write you feedback. You just have to ask. Okay. And if they want guidance, then I always say, well, why don't I give you 3 questions to answer? The first one is, what was the problem you were trying to solve? The second one is, what was I like to work with? And the third question is, what happened as a result of working with me? And it should go, my team are scared of the phone. Anthony was amazing and really funny and lovely to work with. And as a result, people aren't scared of the phone anymore. I should basically say, this was the problem. You were amazing. And now we don't have the problem anymore. Or the problem is much smaller. Okay, that's how you tell a mini story as a case study. So if you get an opportunity, please go and ask some of your favorite clients. And if you want to, blame me for the reason that you have asked them. Okay. And an extra little golden rule. I talked about that permission to speak, and you're going to find out about the last one in a minute. But here's an extra golden rule. It's a post-it note. It says, thank you equals ask. Okay. Stick that on the top of your screen, and every time you hear the words thank you from a client, not a prospect, but from a client, okay, recognize it as a verbal cue of gratitude. It is your moment to ask for something in return. Okay, they're now indebted to you. So the best thing to do first off is go, you're very welcome, Meredith. It's all part of the service. So gracefully accept their thanks. And then I would say, but seeing as you seem so happy, I don't suppose you'd mind sharing a couple of lines of what I've been like to work with, because new customers always want to hear what my clients say about me. So the first time you hear thank you, ask for feedback. Okay. Second time, you're very welcome, Meredith. It's all part of the service. But look, seeing as you seem to be enjoying it so much, I worked with your sales team last time. Maybe I could come back and work with your customer service team, or I spoke at your such and such conference. Maybe you could bring me back for your next event, or your away day, or blah, blah, blah. Basically, if you've enjoyed working with me, why don't we work together more? Yeah. And so the other way that you can word that as a speaker is, you're very welcome, Meredith. It's all part of the service. But seeing as you guys like part 1, are you ready to start talking about part 2 yet of my talk? And I got that from a guy called Steve Head. And when people are praising you at the end of your talk and you come off stage, that's the thing you want to say to the organizer. When everybody's buzzing, and I really like that, go, oh, I can't wait for you to see part 2. Right? That's how you get the rebooking. But anyway, thank you equals ask. From then onwards, whenever you hear thank you, ask for a referral. You're very welcome, Meredith. It's all part of the service. But look, seeing as you seem so happy, I don't suppose you could think of just one company you could introduce me to, maybe one of your favorite clients or suppliers that might be interested in my services. Okay. My nan told me if you don't ask, you won't get. So hopefully this is useful. Okay. There we go. We're 60% of the way there, still moving at 100 miles an hour, but we should have time for some questions at the end. So we've done permission to speak, we've built rapport, we've established our credibility now by sharing success stories. Now we need to create urgency. Okay. This is the phrase that I get a lot of clients using is this is where you would offer somebody a test drive. Okay, a test drive has a kind of universal understanding of try before you buy. So this is where you might say somebody you bump into or you get an inquiry. Oh yes, well why don't I give you a little test drive session and I can show you how it works. And as speakers, trainers, coaches, we have various different test drives. So this is a little interactive piece here. What could you guys do for somebody who's inquiring about working with you? Is there a test drive that you may offer? Whether it's from coaching, training, or speaking. I will hold a drink in a hope that one of you unmutes yourself and can think of a suitable test drive. Out of interest, anybody got a book? Sending somebody a copy of your book and asking which chapter would be most useful if you were to come and do a session for them can be a nice little test drive. Anybody done a lunch and learn session for somebody who was interested in working with you? You might do a mini session with them. A couple of you mentioned coaching. You might say to somebody who's got a big challenge at the moment, let me do a couple of little one-to-one sessions. It is free of charge on the condition that you get me written feedback within a week of those sessions taking place. Otherwise, you have to pay the full amount. So if you are going to do that, you can invoice them with a condition, which reduces it down. I often, my most popular test drive is if somebody's interested in training, this usually is, and if they've got a very niche industry or a niche type of employee that they're not 100% sure that I'm good. I've been recommended, I've talked a good game, but they're still sort of sat on the fence. And I'm trying not to be too bullish. I will say, would it be useful if I ran a little mini sort of test drive session where I gave them a really quick, cool structure and I troubleshooted some of their most common objections? Would that be useful? And nobody's ever gone, no, Anthony, I don't think that would be useful. They've all gone, oh, a test drive. Oh, yeah, that would be useful. Right. So then what I would say is, well, look, I'm happy to do this. It would be a 45-minute call. And because it goes into my diary, it will automatically create you an invoice. So as long as you're happy with this, it will be for £450. But I'm going to put a caveat that says, as long as you give me written feedback within 14 days of the session taking place, then you don't have to pay the invoice. Are you okay with that? Once again, nobody's ever said no. And it means that the 5%, the 1 in 20, I do have to phone on day 14. Okay. And it'll be, hey, Thomas, it's Anthony here. I've just had a quick call from accounts. We just wanted to double check. Are you still writing us that feedback or are we issuing you that invoice today? And you'll go, oh my God, 2 weeks has flown by. I'll get it to you in the next hour and you'll rush it and send it to me. And it won't be very good because you'll have rushed it. But what it won't mean is that you won't come back to me and ask me for another freebie in a few months' time. Okay. And that's the problem with some of us speakers is sometimes we're too generous. And when we do stuff for free, people want more free. And also they don't value free either. So if you are going to do something that is free of charge, please invoice it and clearly state what you're discounting it for. That way it sets a bit of a price expectation of when they do work with you, how much you charge. Test drives usually start with tip sheets, downloadable, little project plan type of things. A book is probably at that end. Articles that you've written, podcasts that you've been on, all of that kind of stuff could be useful. It starts to build up to a discovery meeting, which could be on Zoom or it could be a face-to-face where you go and check each other out. You might run a mini session. You might do a coaching session for somebody as an example. There's a variety of different things that you can do. You might send a show reel, for example, is usually one that bookers tend to like to see. But one big tip is the thing that they love most, and they won't generally take you up on it because it won't be convenient, but they appreciate that you have the confidence to offer it, is you say to them, well, look, I've got a gig coming up next month that's an open one. I can speak to the organizers and see if I can get you snuck in the back of the room if you want to see me in action. And that shows that you're confident. It shows you've got gigs in the diary. It's a great test drive. A lot of organisers can't make the date or can't be bothered to travel, but appreciate the offer. So there you go. Test drives, are we all happy with how we would position our test drives? Can I get some nods? Brilliant. Perfect. In which case, last step is the last golden rule. It's called TFR. Again, little acronym for you. It stands for take final responsibility. Okay. It means you have to take final responsibility at the end of every conversation for the next time you're going to speak to somebody, not just the next action. So as I mentioned earlier on, the most common area for pipeline constipation is usually just after quotation stage. Okay, so I want you to rewind to those conversations where people are asking you to send them a proposal or a quotation. Okay, how do you normally finish those off? I need you guys to unmute yourself. Thomas, Meredith, Iskra, John, how would you finish it? Jackie, I can't see you. I don't know if you're sat in a dark room or just listening. It's up to you if you want to jump in.
Think
but yes,
about it, let me know.
Yeah, so you'll say something like, "Oh, well, I'll email it over to you. Let me know if you've got any questions."
Yeah.
Yeah, or you might say something like, "Let's catch up next week." Something like that, right?
Yeah, when can I call you?
Perfect. Okay, brilliant. You're getting closer. Absolutely. Thomas, what would you say at the end of before you agree to email somebody some information or a proposal? Oh, you are on mute, by the way. Apologies. I'll just get you to unmute yourself. Sorry, Thomas. Oh, and now you're on mute, but I still can't hear you, and I'm not very good at lip reading, so I'm not too sure what's happening there. Apologies. Oh, there we go.
Better now? Okay.
Yes, perfect.
Sorry. I would inquire if we had a phone call later at a particular date.
Perfect. Absolutely. And that's kind of what I'm getting at is I would say to you, hey, Meredith, yeah, absolutely happy to send you all the information. I'll get it all sent out by the end of the day. So I'll do something to set your expectations of how quickly I'm going to move. And then the line that I would use to do my TFR is I would then say, but realistically, Meredith, when do you think you're going to have a chance to have a look at this by? Right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you, and I think by saying realistically in that way, I'm kind of telling you, I want you to be honest with me. I'm not being precious. I'm just curious of when you think you're going to have a chance to look at this by. Okay. What I can then do is I can let you set the time frame, and then I will hold you accountable to it. So some people might say, we'll look at it later today. The most common answer usually is we'll look at it by the end of the week. I'm sure I'll get a chance by the end of the week. Okay, so when they say that, what I do is I go, fantastic. Well, look, if there's any immediate questions or concerns, don't hesitate to come back to me. But look, just so I don't forget, let's book in a 15-minute call now on Friday afternoon. And then that way, if you haven't had a chance to go through it, I can whip through it quickly with you again. Okay. But if you have, and you've got your boss on the call too, or you've got your other team members, I just want to make sure by the end of that call, I've answered all of your questions and concerns, and that basically you have all the information you need to make a decision of whether I'm going to be a good fit for you. Okay, so I'm justifying it, but it's more of a review call. It's a final Q&A after I've sent you something. And that's how I would tee up my next call. And if they don't agree to that time, if they go, oh, no, honestly, just send it over and we'll come back to you, I'll then be thinking, okay, they're probably getting prices. I'm not going to spend as much effort on the proposal for them. I'm going to send them something relatively generic. It's not filling me with confidence when they don't want to set up a follow-up call afterwards. Okay, so if you find yourself talking to somebody and agreeing to send a proposal, okay, hopefully, I don't know if you'll be on a headset or however you'll be doing it, but if you hear yourself saying anything like, let me know if there's any questions, or let's catch up next week, I want you to put your hand up really tall, bend your arm at the elbow, and then rotate your shoulder and whack yourself on the back of the head, okay, because you are teeing up pipeline constipation. All right, so that's how you do it. You can do it in various different scenarios. Just ever so quickly before we go into a Q&A, another scenario where you can use that TFR is, do you guys leave voicemails for people? Somebody you would, yeah, perfect. Thomas, maybe, possibly. Meredith, you gave me a little nod there. Okay, how many messages would you leave, Meredith, for somebody? 2, 3, 4. You can unmute yourself or hands.
Probably like 2 or 3, and if I'm not getting response, then yeah.
In which case, I'm just going to give you a really quick voicemail sequence of somebody who inquires through my website. And I get this every now and then. It makes me laugh. They inquire through my website to tell me that I've been recommended for them and they'd like some information and some pricing. Okay. And I get that come through and I go, oh, you were so close. I've got a training page where you can download all of my programs. You can see my prices. You nearly had it. Oh, okay. But I can't say that because it's a little bit passive aggressive. Okay. And you've asked me for information. So what I would do is my first call, if you didn't answer it, would go something like this. Hey, Meredith, it's Anthony Stears here, the telephone assassin chap. Thanks ever so much for your inquiry through my website. I'm more than happy to send you some information, but would really like to know a little bit more about your team and what you're trying to achieve with the training. If you get a moment, please give me a call back on my mobile number, and I'll leave my mobile. But don't worry, I've made a note to give you another call tomorrow afternoon if I haven't heard from you. I look forward to speaking soon. Bye-bye. Right, that's my first call. But I'm telling you, I'm phoning again. Second message. Hey, Meredith, it's Anthony Stears here, the telephone assassin chap. I don't know if you got my message yesterday. Right, bit of customer service here. I'm just double checking. I don't know if you got my message yesterday, but thanks again for your inquiry. More than happy to send you some information, but would like to know a bit more about your team and what you're trying to achieve. So if you get a chance, here's my mobile number. I will send you a little LinkedIn message now as well, just in case these aren't coming through. But don't worry, I've made a note to give you a call on Friday if I haven't heard back from you. Okay. Message number 3. Hello, Meredith. It's Anthony Stears here. Hopefully you've got my last couple of messages and thanks again for your inquiry. Would love to have a chat with you about training. Please do give me a call back when you get this number. I did send a LinkedIn request and I'll send an email back today as well, but let me know when you're around. But don't worry, I've made a note to give you a call next Wednesday if I haven't heard from you. Okay. Now, most people, you said 2 or 3 voicemails, so I think I've got to 3. Can I skip to voicemail number 8? Right? This is how voicemail number 8 would go. And when people say, why are you phoning 8 times? Well, I still want their money. They've inquired. They might have just got COVID and ended up in bed for the last few weeks. And that's why they've gone quiet on me. Like, I need to keep phoning. Otherwise, I'm not doing my job. Okay. But here's voicemail number 8. Hello, Meredith. It's Anthony Stears here. I don't know if you remember me. I'm the telephone assassin chap. You inquired through my website nearly 2 months ago now. I did reach out to you and left you several messages. I sent you a LinkedIn message and a couple of emails too. And I have to assume that perhaps you're not looking for training anymore. If that is the case, please do let me know and I'll take you off of my database. But don't worry, if I haven't heard from you, I'll make a note to call you in a couple of weeks' time. Yeah. Or what I'm more likely to do is that last bit would go, if you do want me to take you off your list, then please do let me know. But in the meantime, I'm going to add you to my email newsletter. So you still get useful tips from me and you'll have all of my contact details should you want to get back in touch. Wish you the best of luck and hopefully we'll speak soon. Right. And then I may push it onto an automated nudging process that then starts drip feeding and they can unsubscribe if they want to. Okay, so that's how I'm polite, persistent and patient with my follow-ups. But those quick steps once more: get permission to speak at the beginning, usually best done by assuming it's a bad time. Build rapport by making it feel like you're dropping off a pizza menu and doing some research. Establish your credibility by using case studies and sharing success stories people can relate to. Create urgency by offering a test drive and an easy next step, and prevent pipeline constipation by taking final responsibility at the end of all of your calls. So I'm hoping that I was lots of nodding, lots of writing down. Am I right? Are you feeling relatively reassured? A lot of this stuff you kind of knew already and you're doing? Yes? And can I either get some nods or some shaking of heads? You're feeling kind of okay. Thomas is not okay. Thomas, are you a premature elaborator? Do you read scripts at the beginning or are you?
I love scripts. I need scripts. I like yours. I just need to start calling.
Absolutely. So having a script is okay. I prefer to give people a structure, which is like the 5 steps. But if you are going to have a script, learn it like an actor. Okay. Remember that story I told you about the guy who does his permission to speak in 6 words? Okay, it's got to sound natural, otherwise it will just sound robotic. And the main reasons sales scripts don't tend to work, so this is just a word of warning, is the person that you're calling hasn't been sent their copy of the script. Okay, so sometimes they'll say something that isn't on your script, and if you stick to your script, you will distort the flow of the conversation. Which is why just build rapport. Get them to smile. If you can hear them smiling down the phone, you're halfway there, right? Then establish credibility. Have something evidence up your sleeve of how good you are. Yeah. And then have some great test drives that they can't say no to, which allows you to show off and give them some value. Right. If you think about those 3 steps, the dynamic of the conversation is much easier to navigate rather than a set of words that you're trying to get in the right order. But yeah, I'm hoping there was a few nods there of confidence of, yeah, this is kind of good stuff. Hopefully some reminders of some good stuff, but any gems, any little things that got you thinking differently about picking up the phone, or any little sets of words? I'm always curious. Obviously, as speakers, our egos are fragile. I want to know that this time was useful. I'm kind of curious, what did you write down? What were the useful bits from this?
You gave me a reason to call.
Yeah, good. I like it. I like it. And you've got a case study that you could go and drop off like a pizza menu to somebody?
Definitely. Of course, I have all the ingredients.
Perfect. In which case, let's bake a cake, my friend. What else did people write down? Meredith, you're smiley, so hence the reason I kept picking on you. So apologies. Was that useful for you?
It was, yes, thank you. I like the
Yep.
framework, the 5 steps, and I really like the permission to speak. I like that setup.
Yeah, it's nice. The great thing about doing that is that once you've been given permission to speak, you'll actually breathe out. All of a sudden, the tension goes because you know that they're now prepared to listen, right? So you can then go, oh, fantastic. Well, in which case, the reason why I was calling, and you can take a deep breath and you can speak, as opposed to just trying to wait to squeeze a word in edgeway and hope that they don't hang up. And oh my God, this is horrible when I'm interrupting somebody's day, right? Iskra, what about you? I saw you scribbling furiously. What were the key things for you?
I have a lot of things, but for me, the thing, I think I have a lot of pages. I think the one that stands out most is thank you is the time to ask.
Okay, I like it.
That was eye-opening, but I do have a question for you.
Oh yes, please, fire away.
Okay, as a person, about the take final responsibility, as a person, when someone tries to push me into an appointment, I kind of go, okay, hold on, I'm not ready for that yet. Yeah. So I as a person, I would have needed to have made my decision already to be ready to take the next step. So if it were for me, how can I take final responsibility without saying, okay, let's do it sometime, and not feeling like I'm pushing them into an appointment?
So if it's an inquiry, then they should be interested in having a follow-up conversation with you. Okay.
Yes, a follow-up, yes.
Yeah. So don't think of it. You said you don't want to book a meeting until you're sure. Okay. You're not asking them to book a meeting. You're asking for a 15-minute conversation to answer any other questions or concerns that have cropped up off the back of receiving your information. So think of it as, you can even call it this, just say, look, would it be okay to do a quick customer service call with you on Friday, just so you can tell me if there was any information that I've missed, or if there's any questions or concerns from you or any of your team? I just want to make sure by the end of that conversation, you have all the information you need from me to decide if we're going to be a good fit. Okay. That way, I think it's an opportunity for you to fill in some gaps. I'm not saying, oh, well, in which case I'll send you the proposal now, but we need to book a closing call for Friday because I really want to know if you want to go ahead with this.
Exactly.
Right? It's not that kind of language. It's very much wrapped in customer service. It's more, think of it as helping them to buy. Right? You're not going to be salesy. You don't want a sales meeting. You want a customer service chat to make sure you've done a good job and that you've given them everything that they've asked for and you've understood everything properly, so that you're in with a good chance of winning the business.
Sounds better. Thank you. That helps.
You're welcome. No worries. Sometimes it's just a little reframe. Can I ask? I was going to say, anybody got any gems that they want to share? I want to say Mr. Bailey in Belgium, only because I don't want to mispronounce your surname. Has this been useful, sir?
It has, thank you, it has.
Perfect. Anything in particular? I know I speak very quickly, so apologies to yourself and others here.
One thing that's gonna stick is don't brag about your biggest clients.
Okay.
But the rest in general was really interesting, the 5 steps and everything. So
Yeah. Good. And the temptation is to mention our biggest client, right? We want to impress people. Just if you're going to do it, follow it up with, and here are some clients from your industry or with your problem or something like that. I love to start. Oh, my biggest gig, yeah, 4,000 people in Macau. Perfect. One of my favorite gigs. Yeah. But the reality is, in fact, I remember one of my very first, my very first £5,000 gig, which was a real big milestone for me. When I joined the Professional Speaking Association, the top keynoters were getting £5,000. Okay. I got that gig directly from the client, not through a bureau. So I got the whole amount of money. Okay. Got 3 days at a beautiful hotel. I flew back into Stansted and went straight off to Superwoman Fest, an event I've agreed to do as a favor for somebody else. So I got off a stage in a concert hall in front of 2,500 people, the first time I'd ever seen myself on a Megatron, right? That huge screen that's the size of a house, yeah? And I've come back to a stage that's this tall, okay? This tall off of the ground, 2 meters wide by 2 meters deep, right? And I've got to do the same kind of gig. I've got to turn up with the same kind of enthusiasm. It's a slightly different style. Obviously, the atmosphere is different. But you still got to do a great job, whether it's a big gig or a small gig. Just don't scupper the small gigs by bragging about the big ones. Okay, the big ones are the ones we talk about down the pub, but it's usually the small ones that put food on the table and in the fridge. So remember that sometimes. But I'm glad it was useful, and hopefully those steps, like you say, is a bit of a good reminder. Anybody got anything else they want to ask or share?
Well, just in case I had a personal meeting, would it be any different than on the telephone?
An in-person meeting? No,
Yeah.
I apply it in exactly the same way. Obviously, if it's a pre-scheduled meeting, so face-to-face or even meeting on Zoom, obviously it'd be very weird if we'd set up a meeting and I went, oh, hey, Thomas, is it okay for me to talk now? Is now a good time? And you're going to go, well, yeah, I've booked a meeting room, you idiot. I've brought you biscuits and a cup of tea, right? So I wouldn't do it then, but the PTS, when it's a pre-scheduled meeting, stands for pre-frame the time and the schedule. So when we met, I would go, hey, Thomas, thanks for meeting me today. I've blocked out an hour. How are you for time? And you might say, oh, well, I've only got 45 minutes. And I go, oh, okay, well, look, I only need about 10 minutes to show you a really quick presentation. And I've got a couple of quick questions to ask, but I guess you've got a few things on the top of your mind. So do you want to kick us off? Right? What I don't want to do is think I've got a full hour and then at 45 minutes, and this happens on group calls as well. So it works even better on group Zooms. I don't want to think that we've got an hour and it gets to 28 minutes and Thomas starts looking at his watch and I'm thinking, well, Thomas is the decision maker. He's going to go in a minute. And I haven't even asked him the question yet. Okay. I might think I'm doing well at building rapport, but if he hasn't got time for me to build rapport, I need to get to the point and I want to know early. So if it's a face-to-face scheduled meeting, then you pre-frame the time that you both have and what you think the schedule is, just so that you're both clear. It's just a bit of signposting, which we do on stage anyway. So it works in meetings just as well. But the permission to speak, absolutely do it in a face-to-face meeting. You can slide it onto the end of your emails. In fact, you shouldn't do it on the end of your emails. You should be confirming it on your emails. Hey, Thomas, as discussed, here is the information that you've asked for. Please let me know if there's any immediate questions. But as agreed, I look forward to catching up on Friday with you and the team to go through any final questions or concerns and see where we're at. Right? So, yeah, you use it, voicemails everywhere, TFR. Anybody got children? Anybody got children? If you've got kids, if you have teenage children, you may have used the TFR of talking to them and changed the effing word in the middle. Okay, it works. It's universal, but yes, taking final responsibility for the next conversation, which is the clear bit, is crucial at any kind of interaction. Now, I'm conscious that we've hit time, and the worst thing a speaker can do is run overtime. But the most flattering thing you can do is stick around for those that want to keep asking you questions. So I don't know if we have a hard cutoff or if you guys have anything else you want to ask, but hopefully thumbs up. I'm seeing some smiling faces and some nods and stuff.
I think Meredith has asked to share again. There is 3 questions to ask for getting a testimonial. Anthony, if you would answer that again?
Absolutely. So those questions are, what was the problem that you were trying to solve? What was I like to work with? And what happened as a result of working with me? And don't be afraid if somebody has sent you some feedback that says, "Oh, Meredith, you were fantastic to work with. We're so enjoyed with this. The team love you, and they're all doing this now, and they're wonderful. This is thank you again." You can go back to them and say, "Thank you so much for that lovely feedback. I'd love to turn it into a mini case study. Could I just get you to add a sentence at the beginning to explain what the initial problem was that you brought me in to fix, please?" Fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you want to, I've been doing a session with this curly-haired marketing idiot, and he told me I should do this. So sorry to ask, but would you mind? You can use that for as long as you want, by the way. And as you probably saw on my thank you equals ask thing, which I know was one of your gems, put curly hair on the top of it. I had to add that because somebody went, "It should have curly hair. It should remind me of you." So there you go. Hopefully.
I love that. Are there any other questions from anyone? Don't be shy. You're all speakers, right? So please just unmute yourself, jump in. If not, you can put it into the chat and we read it
I was
out.
going to say, feel free to put it in the chat now.
And for sure, I definitely love to pick your brain more, Anthony, and the brain of the curly-haired chap, right? All of you, I'm sure there's a lot more questions you might want to ask him in private. So I know that, Anthony, you were happy enough to also invite everyone to connect with you on LinkedIn. So maybe Brenda,
Yes.
you can also thank you, our rock star Brenda. Okay, maybe you can also.
She is on it. I like it. And the reason I want you to connect with me on LinkedIn is I'd love to know what happens when you go and put some of this into practice.
And Brenda, yeah, there you go. You have it in LinkedIn in the chat already. So anyone of you that wants to connect with Anthony, please do. Okay. So again, I know you've given all of us, you showered us with a lot of golden nuggets. Okay, I'm definitely one of my greatest takeaways is the pizza delivery thing, right? I mean, do it in this way, right?
Yeah.
It's really beautiful. It takes all the resistance out of the conversation right away from the beginning, and that is what makes a conversation possible in the first place. I love that for sure.
Well, I think in lowering your expectations when you phone means that you're not disappointed when you find out that's the truth, but actually you can see the opportunity at the end of the tunnel. So no, I'm really glad that was one of the things that landed. Just as an extra bit of information, I mentioned that I have my online academy. It basically has my 5 conversation steers as part 1, and so it's a mini course. And then once you've done that and you've answered a quick questionnaire, you can get full access to advanced stuff, scripts, downloadable templates, that kind of stuff. And every 2 weeks, I do a drop-in group coaching call. So you can just come and ask me questions. But as a special bonus, I also do a monthly call with PSA people. So these are people who are members usually of the Professional Speaking Association, so speaker buddies of mine who I know through the association. But as far as I'm concerned, it's for all speakers. So regardless of whether you're a member of your country's speaking association, if you were to join the academy, you let me know when you join and I'll add you to the list so that you get the extra monthly call, which is just with other speakers as well. So similar kind of format to this, which means I can keep the context very sharp on speaking, training, coaching. So sorry for the plug there, but hopefully you connect with me on LinkedIn. But try this stuff out. You don't have to buy from me. I just really want to know when you go and pick up the phone, what happens next.
Fabulous. Love, love, love it. So maybe Brenda, you can share again the link to the academy, okay, so that everyone has it for sure. Yeah, and Anthony, any final, because it looks like, I don't know, is there any more questions here? It doesn't look like it at the moment. Okay.
No?
But can you just inspire everyone here? Okay, like they say, oh my God, I mean, that's something I want to do for a long time. Just call up people, call event organizers to get booked more to speak. What is your final, uplifting message of encouragement for everyone to really take action on what we discussed today? Because that learning is great, but knowing without doing is actually not knowing. So again, we need to turn our learning into action to get results. So again, what can you do, as a couple of final inspiring, encouraging messages?
Final inspiring things. Well, firstly, you guys hopefully all realize how inspiring and empowering you are. Okay. Even if you don't get on big stages and you just coach people, your words change people's worlds. Okay. So if you're going to change the world, you need to get out there. And I suppose the thing that I often say to really rub salt in the wound to those people like Thomas who kind of go, I just know I need to do this. Okay. I just know I need to get on with it, is you're probably like me in the fact that I'm not really famous. Okay. I haven't got massive marketing budgets. Okay. I'm not quite handsome enough to go on telly. Okay. So I'm not really famous. People don't know who I am. Okay. So I am depriving my market of being able to work with me by not reaching out to them. Right. If you don't let people know that you're there and that you can help them, then they don't have an opportunity to work with you. So if you are believing what you do, which I'm sure you do, otherwise you wouldn't be here, um, please don't deprive your market by sitting there quietly and not picking up the phone. Because when you do, even when you make random cold calls, you'll probably start to notice that over 66%, over 2/3 of people will thank you for phoning them at the end of the conversation. Okay. So put all of that stuff together now. You want to go and change the world. You know you have to reach out. And hopefully, as you start to do it, you're going to realize people are going to thank you for this. Okay. Hear that thank you. It's not a thank you equals ask. Okay. You can't really ask for a reference from somebody who you've only just is just coming into your pipeline and becoming a prospect. Okay. But that thank you means that they were grateful that you bothered to reach out. Okay. Hear it, believe it. And like I say, picking up the phone should be a lot easier now. So good luck and keep me posted.
Love it. Beautiful. And I see there's a lot of thank yous coming in already, right? And yeah, thank you again, Anthony, for sharing us. I mean, every time you and I speak, I learn something, okay? We can never learn enough about having powerful conversations and opening doors, even unexpected doors sometimes, okay? And get a conversation going, because you and I have had many conversations where magic happened, right? Not only did we gain clients, not only do we get booked as speakers, we ended up being featured in media, we ended up being invited to a community that led to more business opportunities, so many conversations.
Yeah.
Once you are
Well,
actually knowing how to build a bridge, get heard, and do something together, it's amazing.
yeah. Well, my wife says it to me, and I don't think it's just because I'm the telephone assassin, but one conversation can change my week.
Yeah. One
The
conversation.
right conversation with the right person can change your week, your month, even your quarter, right? Get out there. People will love talking to you. I promise.
Absolutely. And one conversation can not only change your week or your month or your year, it can change the total trajectory of your business and your life. So
Absolutely.
there you go, my friends. Go out there, arrange these conversations, have these conversations. Now you have the blueprint of how to really get people to listen, connect with you, build a rapport, and also build credibility, and eventually, right, also get them into taking action, ideally taking action with you. So all of you, okay, thank you for being on with us. First of all, thank you, Anthony, one more time. Okay, guys, please grab his LinkedIn link, grab his Academy link. Also, we mentioned the Speak to Scale calendar. Grab that one if you want to have like daily little fun steps that guide you to step up with your speaking and your business. Definitely check that out and connect with us. Let's have a conversation. If we can help you figure things out as sales and conversation masters, as speakers, as entrepreneurs. So Anthony and I are happy to have a conversation with you. And again, next week, not next week, not that fast, but next month, we're going to be back with another Hard Power Speaking Community call. So please, okay, buckle the seatbelt for that one. We will send you an email tomorrow. I know some of you mixed up the time and came late. Don't worry, we will share with you tomorrow an email where you can also find the conversation today in the Hall of Fame that we have. So some of you might say, oh my God, that was so fast. I definitely want to listen again. Okay, we will be in the Hall of Fame. So please keep an eye out. We're going to share it there tomorrow. And again, thank you all for embracing the power and the value of your message. Okay, thank you for all your courage to be out there as speakers. Thank you for all that you do with your businesses to touch more lives. So I'd like to round off this session just wishing you an amazing week, an amazing month ahead. A lot of us will be in touch, but as always, go out there, use what you learned today, turn the learning into action right away. And then, go out there in your own unique way. Speak up, scale up, impact the world. So all of us, speak up, scale up, impact the world together. Okay. Thank you all for being on today. See you soon.
Bye. And Iskra, I've just sent you a LinkedIn request, so hopefully we